Jenny Young's 10-year-old son Ryan has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder as well as severe learning difficulties. His condition means that Jenny is the target of his frustration, and she says that because she's his mum, she has to put up with it.
Well, Jenny says that if Ryan were her husband and behaved like that, they'd be divorced by now, and that if he were a dog, she would have had him put down.
Well, it's a shocking statement, maybe, but Jenny asked that we don't judge her until we've heard the entire story, and that's, you know, that's something to be said, but it does need to be clarified. Let's start first of all with you. You always wanted to be a mum, and you got married in 1984, met your first husband. You had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and you noticed that your eldest son had behavioural problems.
Yeah, he did. He was always on the go, but everyone said, well, he's a boy.
And then, sadly, by the mid-90s, you and your husband had separated, and you're working part-time in an office. You've got 3 demanding children. It was much later, at the age of 10, that he was actually diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
And you said that was relief.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Why was it a relief?
Because it wasn't just him being naughty.
And you recognise, actually, the behaviour in your other children also. And later on, they went on to be diagnosed as well.
Yes.
And in actual fact, then, yourself has then gone on to be diagnosed in your mid-40s.
Yes.
And you think that that's part of the reason why you can understand and relate and that you've been able to cope?
I think so. I think if you've got an ADHD mind, it's probably more difficult to understand people who haven't got an ADHD mind. So sometimes you have to slow down and think, OK, they're not thinking like me.
But at times, it's not been easy to cope.
No.
At all.
Not at all.
And there have been moments when you found it very, very hard, particularly when they were little, the 3 of them. And trying to get specialist help.
Yeah, unfortunately, the professionals don't always believe you. When you're a mum and you say, look, I've tried everything, I don't know what else to do, I'm at my wit's end, specialists tend to suggest a few more things, and you think, oh, I've done all those, I wouldn't be here asking for your help if I hadn't already tried all those. So it can be very hard to get the level of support that you need.
Well, you say that with some medication and extra schooling and help, which you had to fight for, that there was an element of despair, but there was certainly help that you were managing to tap into. You then found another lovely guy, fell in love, you remarried 2002, and you had Ryan in 2003.
Yeah.
You didn't expect to have any more children, but...
No, not really.
But along he came. You were concerned that he might have ADHD, because certainly his pregnancy had been difficult. There'd been slow growth. At 38 weeks, you had a C-section. He was only, I think, 3 pounds and 11 ounces, wasn't he? So he was very tiny. And from that day on, he was always behind all the benchmarks.
Yeah.
That's physically and mentally.
Yeah, yeah. The ADHD was really neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We knew that he would probably have some sort of learning difficulties or disability or something. You could tell that from all the scans I had before he was born. And we didn't know what, but he was so tiny and he was so behind. It was pretty obvious he was going to have some sort of learning difficulties.
And sadly, once again, other reasons and this put a strain on your relationship, and that marriage ended in 2008. But you said in 2009, it was when Ryan was diagnosed with severe learning difficulties, that actually you almost grieved for him.
Yeah, it is quite a sad thing. You don't love the child you've got any less, but you do grieve for the life that you might have had and the baby you might have had. So there's a fantastic piece of prose that most of us parents with special needs children know, called, or we call it Tulips. I don't think it's actually called Tulips, but it's about going on holiday and ending up in a country you didn't expect to land in. And it's a lovely country, but it's not the place that you thought you were going to go to.
But here you are, back to being on your own again, although I think sort of fathers do have, you know, sort of input here and there. But you've got 4 children with varying stages of learning disabilities.
Yeah, well, the ADHD isn't necessarily a learning difficulty.
It's difficult.
Doesn't
for a mum.
help.
Let's say that
doesn't help.
For you as a mum, it certainly doesn't help.
It was difficult.
And being on your own, there is that element of despair.
Yeah.
But it's Ryan that has put the strain on you to the greatest degree.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you say that for 99% of the time, he is adorable.
Yeah. And I think most parents with a child like Ryan would say the same thing.
So in what way then? Because you said there's these two sides to him. In what way did you find it hard to cope? What is it about him?
The biggest problem, I think, is the unpredictability. Like I was saying to you a little bit earlier, that he could be absolutely gorgeous all day, and you go squat down to give him what you think is going to be a big cuddle, and you think he's going to kiss you, but he might bite me, or pull my hair, or knock my glasses off, or scratch me, and I don't know why.
But he's punched you, and this has been sort of large...
Loads of times, yeah, loads of times. Bites and scratches and punches. And
how many times does it happen?